Hello, and welcome to Nia's Perspectives. If this is your first time tuning in, I am Nia, the owner of Perspectives. I take individuals from stressed and struggling to empowered about money so they can achieve financial freedom. I've created this series called My Life with Money. Well, I will interview different individuals, regular, everyday people like myself, and basically ask them to come and share their journey with money, their triumphs, their obstacles, maybe some of the struggles that they might have experienced during their financial journey. And I do want to stop and say it does not cost you anything to hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be updated when the new interviews drop. Trust me, this is going to be an awesome series. You do not want to miss it. So I want to welcome the first guest of the My Life with Money series. She is actually one of my bestest friends, and I want to congratulate her for being open to be the first person to be interviewed. We all shame talking about money, and it's normally taboo, and we can talk about our deepest and darkest secrets with people, but won't share any money information or have any conversation with them about money, but they know who you did, when you did them, and why you did them. So I want to make conversations about money normal. All right. So you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello. Thank you, Nia, for allowing me to be the first in making Perspectives history. I'm excited to be here. My name is Aja. I am a full-time human resource professional. I live with my husband and our three boys, all teenagers, 18, 16, and 13. And as you can well imagine, they eat everything in sight, or even things that have not been seen as of yet. As Nia mentioned, we've been years for maybe half a decade, friends, not years. We've been friends for about half a decade now. Our relationship was born out of just taking care of our hair, hanging out in a salon with the third.
It was.
Yes. And we just clicked. It was just natural. It was organic. She had already started her financial journey before we met, but I've just had the pleasure and the honor of watching it blossom and grow into like a full-fledged
Thank
business.
you.
You're welcome. No, thank you. A lot, as I'm sure as we go through this interview, a lot of what I've learned with money in my really adult life in the last few years is due to you. It's really due to you. And just a lot of the ventures I've been able, yeah, it's true. A lot of the ventures I've just been able to undertake, and a lot of things I've been able to do, travel, go back to school, business, all that has been influenced in some part by you. So mad love for you, girl.
Oh, thank you. Back to you. Oh. All right. So, well, you already told us a little bit about yourself. What about hobbies and interests?
Ooh, so I like eating. I don't know if that counts as a hobby. I do like reading. I love romance novels, paranormal, pretty much fiction. Real life gives me a lot of, nonfiction to live through. Other hobbies, it's been a while since I picked up my knitting needles, but I have a sister expecting a little one, so she wants me to knit a gender reveal blanket soon, and that's pretty exciting. I'm honored by that. Recently been taking up the sewing again, so that's been another hobby of mine, and just finding some time to just take care of my own mental health has been a new hobby.
That's important. That's dope. That's dope. That's grown woman goals right there.
Girl, yeah.
That's grown woman goals right there that we learn as we get older that we need to spend more time on. So you mentioned you had a 9-to-5. Do you have a business also?
I do. So COVID has done a lot. But one thing I can say that's positive that's come about as COVID is a little side venture I've undertaken, and that is sewing masks. And so I'm really excited. Just being part of my circle of entrepreneurial Black women out there running their businesses, that's kind of the third, wheel. And I was like, what am I doing? So I kind of hopped on the bandwagon and started up a little something. And so I'm really excited of it.
Yeah, I love your masks. Like those lace masks, like the ones that you dropped, I feel like I can't just wear that. That's a go out on a date. Well, I'm single, so I'm still dating. So I feel like that's a wholehearted go out on a date you know, I'm looking sexy. I have my heels on.
Yes.
Like, you know, grown. I'd love it. I have mine
Yes.
right here. So if you don't have one by you, I have one to show. Because
Actually,
that's
oh,
okay.
I got,
I got you covered.
I got a few.
Okay, right.
For
Yes.
your face.
That
For your
lace
face.
is so sexy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted women, you've got to cover your face going outside. Oh my gosh, that's enough of a trial. But I also want you to just add a little spice, a little something extra. You going out, whether it's a date with your girls or you just want something to just add a little extra. And so the lace was the inspiration for that.
Yeah, so quick shameless plug. This is one mask by her. So this is what I mean by the lace. Like, you can't tell me that's not sexy, but it's also reversible. So you can, you can, in the daytime, and then you get off work and then you want to have a little fun.
Yes.
The ear cards are adjustable, so you can adjust them to how tight or loose you want them. Like, I'll drop the information at her website down in the description. If you want them, I'm telling you. And they're nice. They're handmade. They're I believe 3 to 4 layers, because you can just fill the different layers in between. So it's definitely still protecting you while making you beautiful. So I'll make sure I put that link in the comments for those who are interested in the mask. So we'll get back to the subject, but I had to plug, because
Thank you, girl.
Yes, these masks are bomb. I like them. And people are like, oh, well, you can get them at Target. I can't get this though. Like, yeah, I can get a cheap mask at Target, but it's going to be a cheap, flimsy mask. It's not going to be this quality. It's just not. So yeah, did you have any education about personal finances while you were growing up at all?
No, I lived on the West Side, poor family. Hell, sometimes we didn't even live paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes it was from link to link. You know what I mean?
It was from meal to meal sometimes.
Yes. We were fortunate that we lived with family members that owned property. So if rent was a little late, we didn't have to make the decision between feeding the family and rent. Yeah. So I didn't have parents that had the overflow. They didn't have the extra. And if they did, they didn't have the knowledge themselves of how to manage that extra, what to do with it, how to invest it. They didn't have that education growing up. They didn't have that to pass on to us. So really, it wasn't until my really late adult years, after already having children and being married, that I ran into you, and you started to just give me some really simple, sound, real life advice and applications for my money.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, anybody who doesn't know me, just being around me, I talk about money all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not just something that I'm doing like, oh, let me start this business, make money. I talk about money like, yeah, all the time. So to be my friend, you have to be able to put up with that. So she deserves kudos for that too, because I swear, I'm explaining all this stuff, and sometimes I know you probably tuning like, okay, who was
right?
Like, just support her,
We're on a jog and she starts talking about finance. I'm like, but we're running.
We're not running right now, yeah. So what do you think has been your major challenges that you've had with money? Like, and how did you overcome them?
So there was a period where I wasn't working. I was doing that at home mom thing. So my husband was holding down the household financially. And then as soon as I went back to work, I was like, oh, look, I have money. Mm-hmm. And I started spending it. Like, I would make sure the house was taken care of. And then anything after that, nothing went to savings. It was spending. Like whatever I saw and I wanted it, I got it. And then if I couldn't afford to get it, I got credit cards. And when I tell you I got credit cards, I got credit cards. When I started back working, my credit, rose significantly. And I think maybe by the first year of working full-time again, I probably had 30 plus credit cards between store cards and major cards. And honey, all of them had balances. Some were maxed out. Some just had a little bit on it. But I went crazy. I was shopping all the time, and I'm still a big shopper, as you well know. Mm-hmm. I've become more responsible with my shopping and more conscious, which was not something I was before. It didn't really register with me that I had to pay these creditors back. Like, I knew I did. I paid them every month on time. And yet I wasn't looking at the interest that I was accruing. I wasn't looking at how much money I ended up paying back versus what I borrowed. And that's just a really recent development for me.
I mean, it makes sense though, because like you say, you grew up in, learning, living without, and then you went from that to now you're a stay-at-home mom and you're still on a, one income, so you're still limited. So when you did finally get it, it makes sense for you to be like, oh, because this would be the first time in your life you've experienced having an overflow. So that's absolutely reasonable, for that to occur. And that a lot of us deal with that because a lot of us grew up in households where we didn't have, our parents weren't able to provide a surplus for us. So when you do get money, it's natural to have that urge to just like, oh, I just want to buy this because I can.
Yeah.
Why not? So I think that's a very valid, I guess you could say, situation that happens to a lot of people with money. And it ends up creating a spending problem. And
yeah,
and once you start it, it's really hard to break it because it's
my
a habit. Yeah. So what are some of the things that you've done to like overcome it? You say that now you're a little bit more conscious, and what type of things did you do to get to that point where you're improving?
So this financial educator I know, Nia, of Perspectives, she worked with me for a while. We had to find the right fit because everything that just didn't work for me as an individual from the start. So we eventually got to where I would pay myself first. And I tried it in a few different forms, and we finally landed on one where I gave myself an allowance, and I also paid my savings at the same time. So like those things came out right away. Like I didn't pay bills. I didn't get anything else. I had to designate an amount of savings, and we ended up kind of figuring out a percentage, which was kind of consistent because my pay was always consistent. And then we figured out the amount that I would be allocated to go spend, right? And so I fell off that often. Like I'm not even gonna lie to you, like I got it perfect from jump. Like, there were so many times I reverted to my old behavior, like, I'm just gonna get this and I'll make it up.
It's a process.
Yeah. But that finally resonated with me and was finally like, girl. And then she was always also like, be conscious of why you're buying something. Do you need this? Or is this a want? And so I started putting things, and one of the things you advised me on was like, put it in the cart, but don't check out. Like, let it sit there, come back to it tomorrow. And if you were able to forget about it, and it didn't make any impact, it wasn't in your mind swimming around all night, you could probably just delete that cart. You didn't need it. Mm-hmm. And so that's another technique I adopted, like put it in the cart, leave it there, go about the rest of my day, and then come back and really think about if I needed to make this purchase.
Okay. What would you say your current relationship with money?
Oh my gosh, we're getting along so much better now. I actually have a savings account. I am almost 40. How old am I? Almost 42 years old. And I've only had a savings account for like 2 years. Like that's a legit savings account.
That's awesome.
It is. It's amazing. And then also I look back and I'm like, why didn't you have a savings account? You have children. I mean, you have like, why not? And so trying to separate from that and not beat myself up about it and be like, okay, but you have it now.
It's just not something that we were taught. We weren't taught. You just weren't. Like when we were young, you got by the skin of your teeth,
Yes. Yes.
It wasn't really something that you were taught. So it's something you have to learn. And you've been doing something for so many years. Now you have to change that. That's a whole process.
Girl, who are you telling? Yes. But just being in constant contact with you and just hearing how you're like, oh, I've got this budget, I'm going to adhere to it, and just knowing that you didn't always get it perfectly just every time.
I mess up. Yeah, I mess up all the time. Mm-hmm.
And you'd be like, girl, okay, so next paycheck we're back on it, right? And I'm like, yeah. And just having that accountability too, I think helps. Somebody say, I see you made it on an Amazon purchase. And was that necessary? Like, right, I'll send it back. But just having that helped a lot.
It's nice to know I'm loved.
Most of the time. But sometimes it may be something coming up.
Thank me later.
Right.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so thinking about the way that your money mindset and how you think about money, like look into the future, like, when you made the transition, like, what do you think, like in the future you would do with your money different than how you would do it in the past?
Definitely paying myself, and not so much paying myself so that I could spend it, but paying my savings account. I can't remember, but you were in one interview I watched and you were like, you're worth it. Like, you're worth having a savings. I don't remember verbatim what you said, but
I know which one it
I
is.
was like,
I know which one you're talking about.
yeah, I was like, you're right. I am worth my savings account. I am worth every penny that I put into it. And you've even introduced me to some like investing tools that takes like the work and understanding out of investing, and Capital, Acorn, Stash, those. And I was like, oh, so I now use two, Acorns and Stash, and I put that money in there and it's out of sight, out of mind. I know it's there, but it's not
Right,
sitting in front of my face.
When you check your account, it's not there staring in your face like, here, spend me.
No, exactly. And then there's little dividends. And every time I get that little dividend email, I'm like, hey, money in my pocket.
I tell people all the time, that's the only Apple product I own is stock.
Yeah.
I don't own any other Apple products. Okay, so thinking about, we're going to talk about different types of income. Like, do you think that now that you're getting a better relationship with your money, and let's talk about the different types of income, like as you progress, because we all know that, and just being honest, saving alone is not like enough for you to retire. Like, unfortunately, the economy has changed between the economy and inflation alone, and the interest rate that the banks, insult us with. What type of different incomes do you think about exploring? Or
I hear you talk a lot about passive income. And so our third mutual friend, which we'll probably interview, she's in a industry where it's really physical, right? And so you're constantly talking to us like, so when your body starts to tell you we can't do this anymore, where's your income stream? Where's your passive income? So that's something I've been thinking about more. I mean, I'm not getting any younger. What can I do when it's time to retire, right? Or if I want to retire early, that's another thing I hear you talking about too. Like, I'm not trying to work until I can't physically work anymore.
Yeah,
I want to enjoy not having to get up and going to a 9 to 5, right? So that's been front of mind for me too. Like, how can I generate passive income? So I like to explore stocks and get kind of more educated in that area. Like, how can I invest my money and let my money do the work for me without me having to work for it?
Yes, you working, your money should be working right alongside you. You should not be doing all the work. Okay, so we did talk about your business. That's normally what I would ask about next. And then if you want to share like your, any information like your social media, your business website, I'll still put it down in the comments though for anybody interested, but just if you wanted to share where somebody could find your products.
Yeah. So my store is all about masks. There's a plethora of options for you there. Sure to find something you like, but you can browse my store at www.justaja.com, and age is AJA. I also have social media pages. Made by Aja is both my Instagram and my Facebook page. So please feel free to join and follow along on those pages. And then that's it. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on Nia's Perspective series, My Life with Money. Again, please hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom. Yes. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.